Penguin Highway bursts with color, its world brimming with this stylish feel, its own unique flavor. In other words, exactly what anyone familiar with author Tomihiko Morimi has come to expect from his work. Opening in US theaters April 12th from 11 Arts, the award-winning sci-fi coming-of-age film joins the Tatami Galaxy, The Night is Short, Walk On Girl, and The Eccentric Family as the latest anime adaptation of a novel by the acclaimed Japanese author. Like these stories before it, Penguin Highway centers on a precocious lead trying to make sense of this suddenly rich world. Making their feature debut, Studio Colorido and director Hiroyasu Ishida were perfectly suited to take on Morimi's work with their penchant for bright, expressive colors. The result is no less imaginative and distinct than any of these other adaptations. His stories feature an eccentric flair throughout, from their highly stylized prose and dialogue to the evocative locations they traverse. Morimi's worlds emphasize the magic of moment-to-moment living. From Soichiro in The Eccentric Family to Higuchi in the Tatami Galaxy, these elder characters remind their younger counterparts, purpose is what you make of it, to appreciate life's many flavors. Much like Otome's endless encounters in The Night is Short, Walk On Girl, this mantra connects each of these works, though the manner in which the characters either float along with it or push back against it materializes in revealing ways. At the time of writing, none of Morimi's novels have been translated to English, though that's about to change. But we can still get a sense of the illustrious threads he weaves by looking at how one of anime's most eclectic directors interpreted two of Morimi's most famous works. Masaaki Yuasa's The Tatami Galaxy and its sister film, The Night is Short, Walk On Girl, offer two takes on the rose-colored campus life, with each of its leads walking opposite paths along the way. From the outset, the works have a lot in common. They share several of the same characters, take place in parallel worlds, and star nameless leads, Watashi and Kurokami no Otome, or the girl with black hair, respectively. Beginning and ending in largely the same place, what separates them is the winding road they take to get there. Each work presents its lead with a choice. For Otome, how will she spend this one night? For Watashi, how will he live his college years? Numerous doors laid before them, they walk opposite paths. They take divergent roads. One spontaneous, the other calculated. Otome goes wherever the wind takes her. Wild ventures encountering dozens of crazy people along the way. Watashi, on the other hand, chooses the track he believes will best guide him to his idyllic image of the rose-colored campus life. Otome has no end goal in sight. Rihaku asks her why she's out tonight. She replies back, "I'm only following my thread of fate." Watashi, however, believes his is a black thread of fate tying him down. Determined to force his life into this rigid vision of happiness, he sees any detour as an obstruction. Both of their journeys are interconnected, but where Otome embraces these encounters as proof of their experience together, Watashi views these connections as deleterious. They are what's keeping him from seeing his illustrious youth through. Most episodes of the Tatami Galaxy follow a similar formula of Watashi joining some circle with visions of grandeur, before things quickly take a disastrous turn, often thanks to the scheming of his foil, Ozu. It ends with Watashi wishing he could do it all over again as the clock rewinds to zero and the cycle repeats itself, this time going down a new path. The loops tend to run into one another, with the new version of himself subconsciously carrying the laments of the previous one forward. For example, in episode 3, he joins the cycling circle, pouring his all into an ultimately fruitless attempt to win a championship in the heart of Akashi. Seeing his tremendous effort wasted, he thinks he would have been better off doing nothing instead. Thus, in episode 4, he becomes the disciple of Higuchi, where he lazily wastes his days eating hot pots and helping his master pull off childish pranks. The loops do not exist in isolation of each other. What happens in one may affect what happens in another, nor do they run sequentially. The final version of Watashi leaves the money he collected while wandering the 4.5 tatami rooms in episode 10, where the version of himself who became Higuchi's disciple found it earlier in episode 4. Each loop represents a possible path he could have taken, all connected by his yearning for the rose-colored life and the people he encounters, who he blames for his failure to achieve it. Otome, however, does not view such interconnectedness as counter to her experience, but filling it with color. The Night is Short, Walk On Girl's story ties a tangled thread between its cast, pulling in even the most seemingly insignificant interactions into the overall picture. Pick any random point along this thread and you'll see how far it goes. For instance, Rihaku once caused a tornado which swept away Todo's koi fish, leading him to have to sell his pornography collection back to Rihaku, who gave him the loan to purchase it for the bedchamber investigation team that another of its members, Don Pantsu, attempts to use to find his fated person he fell in love with when apples simultaneously dropped on their heads by writing the script for a pop-up theater, only to have the earlier tornado sweep through during the play's climax, dropping Todo's koi onto his and the director's heads, making her his new fated love. Did you get all that? The film doesn't call much attention to these scattered backstories and motivations, rather organically weaves them into the story of Otome's encounters. The cold plaguing them in the end is a direct representation of the domino effect each of these connections creates. Both Night is Short and Tatami Galaxy team with these tiniest of threads tying it all together, indicative of a writer and director in complete control of their story. The difference lies in how its lead navigates them. Otome always looking forward to the next one, Watashi looking back at how it might have gone differently. Watashi has his own analog in Night is Short in the senpai character. Both expect fate to happen for them as long as they lay the right track down, rather than making it their own. See how they both carry a meaningful lost artifact from Otome or Akashi's childhood, hoping to woo her with it. Ultimately, they both arrive at the same answer. Agonizing over every possibility will only prevent them from moving forward. They can't expect to gain anything without risking something first. In what seems a direct reference to Watashi's situation in the Tatami Galaxy, Senpai comes to this conclusion in his head. If we don't jump, our future is clear. We'll just continue to spin in circles in some corner of our wasted youth. In crafting such evocative environments, Morimi and Yuasa drive home this core message, that the rose-colored life doesn't exist, because the world isn't rose-colored. Watashi learns this truth when he's trapped in 4.5 tatami hell, walking through each of the rooms of his parallel selves, seeing that while they may not be rose-colored, each has their own color to it. As Higuchi tells him, don't focus on the paths you did not follow. The root of all your evil is in always relying on one of your other possibilities to get your wish. You must accept that you are the person, here, now, and that you cannot become anyone else other than that person. Fate is just a matter of circumstance. You can reject it, accept it, or take control of it. Whether the grounded whimsy of the eccentric family and Penguin Highway, or the explosive fun of the Tatami Galaxy and Night is Short, all of Tomihiko Morimi's works illustrate the extraordinary palette the world has to work with. As tantalizing as the rose-colored life may seem, don't restrict yourself to a single color, for the night is as short as you make it, so make the most of it. All of the anime adaptations to Morimi's novels are favorites of mine, with Penguin Highway the latest edition. Be sure to catch it in US theaters if you can. For the full listings, follow the link in the description. Huge thank you to 11 Arts for sponsoring this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.